This episode is sponsored by UPMC Elite Orthopedics. UPMC Elite Orthopedics is proud to support youth sports across our region and proud to sponsor Scholastic Mirror on the Altoona Mirror YouTube channel. To learn more about their board-certified orthopedic surgeons and the wide range of orthopedic conditions they treat, or to schedule an appointment in one of their facilities in Hollidaysburg or Bedford, visit upmcaltoona.com/ortho or call 814-889-3600.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of our new adventure here on Altoona Mirror TV on the YouTube channel and public access. The show's called Scholastic Mirror. This is not football. This is winter sports. It'll eventually be spring sports. And we are joined again by our winter sports gurus and soon-to-be spring sports gurus, Mike Boyden, Andy Stein. My name's Scott Franco. First thing we're going to talk about here is high school swimming. In our area, we have several schools in our area that swim. We have Hollidaysburg, Altoona, we have Tyrone, we have Central Cambria, Cambria Heights, school programs like that. Mike recently just went to the Laurel Highlands Athletic Conference swim meet at Hollidaysburg, and tell us a little bit about what went on there.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was the first time that the Laurel Highlands has ever had a championship meet. Now, they didn't crown like team champions or anything like that, but it was a cool opportunity for a lot of these teams to get together. Some of them had never swam at Hollidaysburg before. The facilities were awesome. The people there did a great job putting it all together. Homer DeLatre is just a treasure for this area. I mean, I'm sure, like, I try to get 10,000 steps a day. He probably had 50,000 steps that day.
And he's the football coach who, when he's not doing that, he's also the athletic director for the whole. And there's a reason why his wife and kids never see him during the school year. It's because of this event Mike's talking about.
But yeah, I think he was there from like 6 a.m. till about midnight that day. They did an award ceremony for the kids. They got to go up on a podium with all the Laurel Highlands schools there. And that is what this whole thing is about. The Laurel Highlands, the new Laurel Highlands, they wanted to not only make it about football, they wanted to make it about all these sports, and they want to make them more special. And I feel like this whole Laurel Highlands thing had been so special with the swimming. And it's the one sport, ironically, that's not as different as the other ones, because since there's not too many swim teams, a lot of these swim teams have already been facing each other. But they added this cool thing of the Laurel Highlands championship meet. And then one of the neatest things was at the end, they had a boys and girls mixed event where they had 2 boys, 2 girls on each of these medley teams while they did 200 medley relays back and forth. And the kids got a chance to have like a bonus event that's not swam at normal swim meets.
And also, before you came to us, you worked at Clearfield, where you actually said you guys covered.
We covered Clearfield swimming all the time. Yeah, and something to add on with the Homer DeLatre thing. Where did Homer DeLatre go to high school, by the way?
No, Shannon Valley.
Yeah.
They didn't have swimming.
What about that? Oh, we do not have swimming. No, we don't have.
I don't think you have water up. Did you have water?
We did have water.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of scarce though. But what I've been saying is only the elite graduate from Mo Valley. But yeah, so when I worked at the Clearfield newspaper, we covered every Clearfield home swim meet, and I definitely understood. They only had about 4 or 5 home meets a year, and the thing about Clearfield swimming was they were outstanding in pretty much every event. A lot of history there too. I know, like, before I worked at the Progress, they had a guy that went and swam at Notre Dame, and I believe he became an All-American at Notre Dame there. So a lot of history there. Long-time coach there, Jackie Morrison. I believe she just retired about a year or two ago. She ran a great program over there. It makes a lot of sense that they come to the Laurel Highlands, and they're definitely one of the better swim programs in the conference.
And that's one of the neat things too that we don't talk a lot about is, Division I football players. We don't see a lot of those, and when you do, it's made a big deal and it's a big special thing. Even just at this Laurel Highlands swim meet, there's a Kiara McCool from Bellefonte. I think she was going to TCU, and obviously there's a girl that's very close to our area that is even a bigger name than going to TCU, and she's been at the Olympic level and everything. And Scott Franco's written some stories about her.
Leah Shackley is a Bedford high school kid who spends most of her time at the Holliesburg YMCA, the Blair Regional YMCA. Her coach over there is Tom Grassadonia, but I've been there exercising in the pool when that young lady's been training on her side, and it's like watching a USS ship drop a torpedo into the water, and it just flies down, and you're like thinking, does she have jets propelled onto her legs or something? That's how, and there's no splashing. Again, I am not authority on swimming, but I see people going in there working out and swimming and practicing, and she's just gliding, and her coach is there with her every time. And just a couple of tidbits to share about her, because she's constantly training for Olympic events to qualify for the games coming up here, 2024. She was going to Indiana, Big Ten Indiana, originally a couple years ago. She switched over. She's now going to go swim at North Carolina State. She is the number 1 ranked swimmer in her age group in the state of Pennsylvania. She's 10th nationally. This is according to a website I looked up called Swim Cloud. But she swims the 50 back, the 100 back, the 100 fly. I looked up the 200 back, 200 fly. And she just is. She was supposed to be at this meet. Yeah. It might have been because of unforeseen circumstances.
She was originally supposed to be in Colorado Springs and miss it. And then when it got rescheduled, she didn't get registered for it. But I will say this, she already has these records. These records, not just at like the district level. She has these records at the state level, and she's multiple-time state champion. So when I talked to her coach some about like her upcoming plans, and it was almost like, well, yeah, I got districts and states. Like, can you imagine like a wrestler or like, a football player being like, well, states and districts are coming up, but like, I'm looking at the Olympics. Like, I mean, it's the different levels here for her.
And the one thing about Shackley is too, because BG had a swimmer like this guy. BG didn't have a swim team, so they just have one kid. Bedford doesn't have a swim team. Leah has no teammates.
She has one teammate.
Oh, she does?
Yes,
I correct that one. But whenever she goes to something, I mean, you don't have that camaraderie of having your team, that bus ride down with your teammates coming back to the game. It's her and her coach and the other young lady Mike just mentioned. But I know in the past when I've written about her, it's just her. And her coach was, again, this guy, Tom Grassadonia from the YMCA here locally, who coaches her, kind of like he's an independent contractor that they use to coach her.
Yeah, and one of her goals is actually to try to break the national high school record for, I think it was the backstroke. And so we're not talking about like, my goal is to win the state championship. My goal is to be the best high school swimmer in the country.
And go to the 2024 games.
Can you imagine, can you appreciate like just how hard it would be to only have one teammate or in some cases no teammates? It's like I've heard of that in sports like maybe golf.
You hope you get along with her too.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's it. That's your friend.
And the fact that she's as driven as she is, she's as good as she is, good of an athlete as she is. That's incredible.
Well, one of the teams that did have a full team at the Laurel Highlands meet and has had an actual veteran coach in Tom Getz. I had a chance to catch up with him. He's the head coach of Tyrone Swimming, and we talked to him at the Laurel Highlands meet about the new Laurel Highlands and about what kind of training it takes to, become a swimmer.
Hi, Coach Getz. So, just the Laurel Highlands having the new league championships. How cool of an event is this? And what kind of opportunity is it for your kids?
Yeah, for many years we've been in leagues, such as the Mountain League and things like that. But to have the Laurel Highlands come together and have a conference like this is really special. It gets a lot of these competitive teams, and it's a very competitive league. And to have the championship meet where you can get the best of the best together and swim and compete against each other, especially before districts, is really a cool thing to have, and something that a lot of our kids have looked forward to. And it'll be something really neat moving forward as we continue as this league continues to grow and be successful.
For some of the people that aren't familiar with swimming, like what all goes into training? How do the kids get ready for today?
Yeah, we're training daily. 3,000 to 4,000 yards a day for practices. Some of our kids will obviously do a little bit more. Some will do a little bit less, depending on their level. We really didn't taper a lot for this meet, but we did try to go a little bit of easy practices, so to speak, working on sprint work, working on turns, working on starts, so that they were fresh and ready for this meet. And then this will be a good barometer of what we need to do to get ready for districts in 3 weeks.
And now before we go to our, even though this is new to us, our new favorite segment, I think the three of us agree, is called Jumps Off the Page. But we do want to emphasize that even though it's the winter show, Scholastic Mirror and Spring Show, we are not below asking for free stuff.
That's right.
If you look behind us, football fans have always sent us free stuff. So if there's any basketball, wrestling, swimming, I don't know what gymnastics could send us. Could they get us a pummel horse? Could we get a pummel horse in here?
A diving board.
A diving board?
Great.
I would really like a Portage rifle flag right back there.
A Portage rifle? Oh, that says bang on it. I would take that.
I am the set director around here. I promise to even redecorate right here.
My daughter made that, and she would let him do that.
When I covered the swim meet, the Central Cambria caps they wore when they were swimming were really neat. So if Randy Wilson's watching,
Red Devil head on it.
Yeah,
I have a size like 8 4/8 head. I know that.
I got a bigger head.
He's got a bigger head.
I'd wear it on the show.
But anyways, there we did. We asked for our free stuff. So Dan, our producer director, free stuff. Like the ShamWow guy from years ago. If anybody out there remembers the ShamWow
Scott's
guy.
still looking for a mini fridge.
He's like the new Billy. He's like the new Billy Mays.
Oh, there you go. I don't know who that is, but I like the name.
Oh,
was he the ShamWow guy?
Billy
He's
Mays.
the late night guy trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
I'm asleep by then. Young people stay up. Anyways, Jumps Off the Page. Can't wait to see what graphics Daniel has for us. I have two real quick ones. Last week, maybe a week and a half ago, Altoona boys basketball team, they're struggling this year. As of this taping, they're 1-19. I think with 2 games left. They had a game they lost to Central Dauphin. And Central Dauphin's a good team, and I'm not going to say what I'm about to tell you would have changed the outcome. Altoona was 8 of 13 from the foul line. Central Dauphin was 28 of 47. What? Now, I can complain about this because I've been doing this job since 1985. I've typed up, I can say, thousands of box scores since 1985. And nowhere have I ever seen such is it the word discrepancy?
Yeah.
8 of 13, 28 of 47. And it's tough enough for those Altoona boys to be going through what they're going through. But maybe they had that night to some refs that were just in a bad mood. I don't want to say refs they're underpaid and overworked. But 28 of 47, 8 of 13. I just say, if you look at that on paper, it looks bad. Yeah. The other thing jumps off the page, the Altoona gymnastics team. Mark Baselli is 29th year coaching. They're 9-0. They have their Central Pennsylvania Scholastic Central Pennsylvania League Championships coming up February 10th. Mark's 29th year coaching. And the thing about this team is if you read the gymnastics write-ups that we have in the paper, they just have not only the girls winning first place, which is usually Claire Piper, but they're taking the seconds and the thirds. And it's almost like track where you get the points. You could win all your events, but if you're not finishing second or third, you're not going to get enough of those points. So I just want to write down Maddie Pastore, Abby Donlin, Emma Betley, Emma Bechtel, Sophia Finelli, which is if we did the You Know What segment on this show, Sophia Finelli is a really neat name. But those are other girls that have competed for them this year. And they're in that league with St. Mary's, Bellefonte, Ridgeway, Waynesboro, and DuBois. So it's not like they're playing teams close by. There's road trips. There's home and away. Waynesboro is like on the way to Williamsport, and then you turn left.
That's out there. Yeah.
That is out there. I got to think Bellefonte's your cllosest one, and that's about an hour.
DuBois,
yeah.
That's not that.
But anyways, hats off to that team. Hats off to Coach Baselli. And, they do. They win. And when he says a total team effort, he's not just shooting the breeze. There are more than one girl that's getting points for that. Yeah. Andrew, jumps off your page.
Okay, so I am a wrestling guy. No disrespect to the other sports. I like every sport pretty much, but I'm a wrestling guy. So one thing that jumped off the page for me, just in Monday's Altoona Mirror, Chestnut Ridge Wrestling. I've always known that Chestnut Ridge Wrestling has always been a really good wrestling school. I didn't realize how many district titles that they have right now. Consecutive. This weekend was their 12th consecutive District 5 crown for duels in dual meet wrestling. That's incredible. There are probably kids in Chestnut Ridge's junior high program right now that have known nothing than winning at Chestnut Ridge, which that's incredible. So, good job to the Lions.
And who were they in there with District 5 with their own Bedford?
Well, they beat Northern Bedford in the finals. I can't remember who else was in the tournament. Bedford's in that. Bedford's in AA. So, I guess there's not a whole lot of AA schools in District 5, but Chestnut Ridge is always, right up there.
Used to have
Bedford
used to be really good
Northern
too,
Bedford's good at wrestling, and they have isn't Hyndman?
Hyndman
Is good at wrestling,
They've
and
had
they
good
still win.
individuals.
Chestnut Ridge is always in.
Always good.
They're always wrestling deep into the state tournament too. So
Yeah, you got to wonder. I'm sure the atmosphere and the stands and everything was crazy with all that. So.
What is your jump off the page, Michael?
Well, mine is probably got to be. So I'm actually going to also talk about wrestling because I opened up the paper the other day and saw that the Altoona wrestling team lost by a point to Mifflin County, and I was like, "Oh, that's
in the
interesting."
district duels.
Yeah, I'll read about this. I just want to see what happened here. Was there a big, exciting ending to this? No. Mifflin County forfeited the last 5 weights. Did they not have wrestlers? No, they had wrestlers. They just didn't want them to get hurt, so they didn't wrestle. And there was 5 matches that were not wrestled against healthy Altoona kids that wanted to wrestle those matches, and they didn't get an opportunity to wrestle in the district duels. I just don't see this as being positive for a sport. If you have injury concerns, that's one thing. I understand that. And that's what he said his issue was. But is there no one at these weight that is in your program? Don't you have any JV wrestlers you could put into those slots or something like that so that we could maybe get I know with wrestling, a lot of the times you not know who's going to win the matches, but you can predict what the points are going to be. So if you were going to be up 34-3, you probably predicted that you were going to win this match. So you could have put some people in the late slots to protect, so you didn't have forfeits, and get some kids some experience in a district duel against kids from Altoona who are, some of them were Altoona's best wrestlers, like Luke Sipes wins by forfeit, doesn't get to wrestle.
And even if you don't, if you're a middle county coach, you put a kid in, at least you're not going to give up the 6 points unless you give up a pin. But at least you're wrestling.
They
clinched the duel.
They could not lose.
In a way, I agree with Mike. It's like I went to a school where it was like we didn't have a full lineup. We didn't have much chance to win a whole lot of dual meets because we didn't have a full lineup. We had about half a team, so we all kind of wrestled for ourselves. And to hear that some kids are being pulled out of a dual meet because the dual meet's wrapped up, it's like that wouldn't sit too well with me when I know I practiced hard all week before that.
And devil's advocate was that they had another match that night in the championship. Yeah. But at this stage, wrestling kids are trained to wrestle more than once. That's what districts are.
I also understand Mifflin County's side of it too, about wanting to preserve their health and everything too. But when I've practiced hard all week and I know how hard wrestling in practice is, it's like that wouldn't sit well with me.
Right, and as a former, I played sports, and I would not want to practice all week and then not get to participate in the actual match or the game, whatever you're working toward. It's like, oh, well, we're going to skip this. And hey, maybe you're a senior. This is your last district dual meet. And you won't lost by forfeit because you were worried about getting injured. It sends the wrong message to me that someone doesn't get the opportunity to move in there. And maybe it's a flaw with wrestling. I know you have to set your lineups and everything, and you can't really just put a JV kid in there after you've already clinched the match. But maybe they need to rework that a little bit, because in a basketball game, if you're winning by blowout, they don't just end the game. They put your JV
Your
team
backups
in
yeah.
so they get some experience. And maybe Mifflin County didn't have any extra wrestlers, but at the upper weights, there tend to be other wrestlers. It's usually the lower weights that it's hard to fill out some of those.
And at these larger schools like Mifflin County too, you would expect there to be more kids available.
The wrestling,
Absolutely,
you always said wrestlers have a different mentality.
Yeah,
Then I was at the PIAA finals in Hershey way long ago when I was in Lewistown. This was back in the early 90s when Penn State men's basketball upset UCLA in the tournament. They announced the score at the wrestling tournament thinking, this is big news. Penn State, they booed. And I thought, why are they booting? And the one guy at the table was telling me, he goes, they don't want to hear anything about basketball at their wrestling tournament. And I just went, wow. Because if you're at a basketball game and they just announced Penn State wrestling won the national, I think the basketball people would be like,
There's always been a little bit of friction between basketball and wrestling that I never really.
why is that?
I never understood
Okay.
it because I love both sports.
Okay.
I wrestled because I was terrible at basketball.
no.
No, that's very true. I am terrible at basketball, but I do love both sports. I always supported both sports. At every school. I had friends on the basketball team in high school. There's always been friction there, but not with me. I've been a fan of both sports all my life. So.
Well, that's going to wrap it up here because that's our best jump off the page, even though it's only our second ever segment. But I'm looking for now what's going to jump off the page next time. Maybe we'll have to break out that part of the show.
It'll be almost high school basketball playoff time.
Oh, then we'll have to have that jump.
Yeah.
We'll look for
Extra
something
wrestling
there.
as well.
But that'll do it for us here in Week 2 Scholastic Mirror. For Andy Stein, for Mike Boyden, for Danny Eisberg behind the camera, I'm Scott Franco. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
And we're not going to have any forfeits.